Whew. What a Okay, everybody. And I thought I'd do a live Q&A from the barn. Because I've got about 2 billion things to clean up in here. And I had something I wanted to talk about. And just in case any of you happen to catch me online here, I want to chit chat. It'll be possible. So, I had a question that was it was a really good question. It was a really good question. And, but it's a big topic. And so I might do an actual proper sort of video on it. But I wanted to talk about it briefly because I do get a lot of people who ask me these questions online, and it's not always the easiest to tick type it out. And in fact, it's a little bit easier to sort of explain it, and then, I mean, ideally the person that asked me the question would be online or on phone or something, but they're not, so maybe they'd watch this video a little. And the question was a big one, and the reason I hear it a lot is because the theme of it is very, very common. A lot of people having the same problems. I have the same problems. You know, you're not alone. And I say that to almost everybody that comes to me and says, "I've got a problem." I say, "Yeah, I have that sometimes too, and it's hard. And this is the thing. These are the things that you want to look at for it." So, I mean, I'm more than happy to take any questions here, and I'll see if I can see them in the little chitty chat window. Let's see, live chat. No chat. Okay, so the question or the problem that this person was having was that they've got a horse that they feel has some issues. A lot of horses here, actually, there's another situation that comes up a lot. A lot of horses seem to come from sort of rehabilitation, and you may be wondering why I'm inside doing this, but it's looking pretty gruesome outside with the very dark, mean looking clouds coming in. So I expect it to rain this evening, and I think the weather report actually said it was going to rain. So are we going to rain? Anyhow, the topic is because, you know, a lot of people feel like they've got some horse that's emotionally or mentally or physically even damaged, and they have to accommodate for that. They have to be extra kind or extra careful, or treat the horse differently than maybe they would treat the horse if they didn't think that some weird problem had cropped up. Now, this horse, rightfully so, had actually freaked out over something and got itself pretty hurt, required some serious vet intervention, and I think I heard a car door. I did not. And so, you know, rightfully so, this horse is probably scared, you know. But that happened probably before the accident. The horse was probably already pretty fearful. And one of the things that I'm always talking to people about is that horses are almost always, the problem is that they're afraid. So anyway, so outside of the idea that the horse is needing rehab or has come from some rescue situation where it's emotionally or mentally compromised, outside of that, I always want to try to look at things outside of that idea. Zeus is sniffing around. You can't hear him, but he's sniff, sniff, sniff. That's distracting. And so the question was this. I have a horse. I mean, it essentially went like this. The same story that I usually get. I have a horse that has had some kind of issue that happened there is required some vet stuff, required some rehab. It's come from a poor situation, and when I take this horse to some location, it tends to freak out. And in the case of this person, they said that the horse would freak out and get really worried and everything, and then it would rear up, or is reared up at least once, through probably what is the pressure of trying to get the horse to come back down and calm down. So I said, okay, well, I understand. That is a surprisingly common situation. If you've got a horse that, in normal situations, you go out to the arena or you go out to the round pen or you're just walking out to the pasture and they're totally cool. You know, just typical every day. They come out of their stall, they come out of their paddock, they come out of wherever, they go to wherever, and they're fine. But then you mix it up, and you know, maybe there's a brand new stall or a brand new paddock or a brand new arena or brand new something, and it breaks up that normal routine that they have going on. I got new lights. Bam. I will talk about these soon. Lighting for horse property. It's a big deal. There's lots to talk about it, but it's a property management thing. So I'll discuss that later, unless somebody asks me very specifically. I'll cover it. So, anyways, to go on with the question, there's a couple of clues. I don't know if clue is the right word, but there's a couple of hints in that story that tell me a few things about where the horse is at. And the first one is that, you know, obviously the obvious is that the horse has been hurt or and reacts poorly to some things. The way that it had been hurt, it was obviously it had freaked out and sort of hurt itself on something. That the situation entailed obviously that it was very fearful of something else, and then it went to, so like getting caught in barbed wire or getting caught in you know, too small of a place, or getting hit by a vehicle because it just ran out somewhere. Situation kind of like that. None of those though. I don't want to reveal too much of it, just in case it's a very private situation. So then what happened is this person would take this horse out to a very normal location, and the horse would then freak out, and while trying to get it back under control, it would rear up. So that was the second hint to me. First one was that you know, there's something that happened before and it easily freaks out, and with the inclusion of the history of the horse itself gave me an idea that, yeah, this horse is probably, what I believe, is just afraid of its surroundings. Now this sadly is also a very common thing. A lot of horses can't handle the human environment that we stick them in. We put them in fenced off areas with motorized engines and large buildings and things that change color often and things that change their position often, and to a horse that's abnormal. If you think about how horses naturally kind of go about their lives, say out in the large plains of wherever, if they go and look around and they're scanning the horizon, if anything has changed, it's probably a predator. It's probably something that's coming to hunt them, or it's another herd. And hi, Debbie. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. And so to them, anything that changes, anything in the environment, anything around here, for example, if I park the gator somewhere, I mean, they pretty much know the gator, but if I park the gator in one place all the time, and then say, you know, a few weeks of that, and then the next week I park it in another spot, the horse would kind of look at that a little bit sort of sideways and wonder, why is the gator over there? What's with that? Is it going to get me now because it's moved? At least we believe that's what they think, based on their normal life as a normal horse in the middle of the plains or wherever they kind of go about living their lives. I'm cleaning up at the same time because look at this place. You know, I do work a lot around here, and then all of the tools end up just on the counter, and since it's going to rain like crazy, probably I must just work inside. So the first idea that I said, based on the clues that were given, the ideas that were given, is this horse is probably quite afraid of a lot of things, especially if it's had that very, very bad experience of getting hurt on one of these weird things that exist in its horsey world, which is really the human world where we keep them, because we keep these animals in environments that are to them quite unnatural. To us, totally normal. Of course, that gator is supposed to be there. Of course, that post is supposed to be there. Yeah, the ladder is supposed to be standing against the shop. I put it there. But to them, they had no idea. So, um, first thing I had given advice on was just to um, get that horse a lot more acclimated and understanding its whole environment, everything that's around that makes up its world. Because you can't just expect horses to just get it. They don't really, they don't make an effort to go understand stuff outside of being very curious, I suppose. But things that they're afraid of and they can't stay away from, they'll happily just never approach again, ever, if they can help it. So it's up to us as humans to go about helping them understand, you know, what they are living amongst, what is happening that is totally normal. You know, don't sweat it. Ah, it's a ladder. It's cool. You know, I climb it. Look, I'll climb. And then you go to climb the thing, and holy smokes! Suddenly you've got a horse that figures you're probably going to launch yourself onto their neck and chew their spine to bits and whatever they think. You know, horses are crazy. So, anyhow, thanks, Lily. That's a nice comment. Love my videos. I do too sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, but thank you. Anyway, so the the first thing is get your horses used to just the stuff that's going on. And so the second part of that is before getting to some spot that's going to just blow your horse's mind, most likely what is happening is along the way there's a series of events that are happening that are slowly building up and building up and building up, to where when they finally get to this spot that you think is totally normal, it's a pasture, there's a bunch of grass, just go ahead and eat, their mind is already just, it's already gone, and they can't handle it any longer. And then something just tips them off, and let's see, something just tips them off, and they lose it. And now suddenly you have to deal with a horse that can't handle their own shadow, for example. So if, see, it's raining. It's already raining. I knew it would rain. So if you're, Zeus, come here. Come on. Come on. Oh, a wet dog. He's down eating some hoof and frog. Come on, buddy. You're just gonna, he just throws up. I mean, if your dog can handle it, maybe it's okay, but Zeus can't. He's going to throw up in 5 minutes. I don't know how he doesn't learn his lesson. So the moral of that part of the story is that you're going to have to start to recognize the steps all along the way as the horse goes about doing their walk with you, or their travels from one place to another, or just their activities, anything that they're doing. Maybe you're in the arena and they're slowly building up. You have to start to recognize those things so that when you do get to some, and it may be stressful, you don't already have something that's, you know, down here is 0 and up here is 100. You know, you're not trying to frightening thing at 90. You know, maybe you'd be starting it down at 10 or 15 or 20. And then you've got 80 to go to get to 100 before they start freaking out and rearing and striking and whatever they're going to do and lose it on you. There is so much junk in here. So then my idea to go with that was to make sure that you have some kind of baseline as to how your horse. Look at this guy just sitting out in the rain. He's just, where is he? There. Just sitting in the rain. Zeus, why didn't you come in? Oh, you just needed an invite, did you? Good boy. Okay. So anyways, somewhere around there. So you need some kind of baseline that you understand your horse can be at to compare to when you're in situations that freak them out. So my first piece of advice, or second piece, first piece, probably my first, and my second was the other one. So I'll go in order here. My first piece of advice was make sure that your horse can lead, which is why I talk about groundwork all the time, because you have a horse without them stepping on you or squishing you or pushing in front of you or anything dangerous. So the first step really is to be able to lead from any distance, and I mean that as in you're not here. I'll grab a halter here. So if this is your horse here, you're leading with the lead, but you're not leading holding on to this thing here. Don't lead from here. And, don't even lead from this far away. Be able to lead from that far away, 5-6 feet or so. So the horse is a little bit further back. The further back they are, the safer. And so with the horse a little further away from you, and you're leading, normally say you practice this in arena and get it good. Now you have a baseline to go from where you expect this horse to be. And I think I'm going to do a really good video about this. I've got a couple of ideas because I teach it all the time, but I haven't quite figured out a good way to get it online onto a video that would make a lot of sense, that would really click in. But the idea being that you're going to have a space around you that you preserve at all costs. And they should have a space where they exist in your imagination, kind of idea, that they shouldn't get out of. It'd be like a rectangle and you'd be in a circle kind of thing. And you protect that at all costs, because that's exactly what horses do. They have their own circle of influence or safety or something that they don't let, or they do let other horses into, or people for that matter. So, going on that idea, if you've now got, where's the other one of these? If you've now got a horse that will lead properly in a normal environment, now you go and try again your old environment that freaked them out. And while you're doing that, you take the second piece of advice that I say, catch all the little things that happen. You go by a ladder and they're like, whoa, what's that? Deal with the ladder. You go by some picnic table and there's a little something flappy on there. You're like, whoa, what's that? And snorting and kind of avoiding and trying to cut you off and stuff. Deal with that. Now, if that takes a long time and you have to kind of give up for the day and you can't get where to you want to go, I've said it before. Make small goals. Don't worry. Because if you've got, A and B, B is the goal, A is the start, and you're just kind of clicking along, well, sooner or later you're going to get there. But don't expect to just get there. It's okay to have a whole bunch of increments of training that happen within that. And so then when you get that, we move on to the third clue of the story about the horse rearing. And I hear about rearing a lot. I experience it as well. Zeus is looking at something. What are you looking at? Nothing. And rearing is actually a very simple problem. Well, I don't want to downplay it, but it's actually a pretty simple item. There's a simple reason. There may not be a simple solution, but there's a simple reason of why it happens. And if you see it this particular way, you'll be able to solve it. You'll have your own methods of solving the problem. Rearing comes from, so we go with the story, we go with that the horse was brought out. We don't know how it was led out. We can assume that it was pretty worried. It got to the place where it was, starts to freak out. Person starts to try to control and contain, and the horse rears up. Now, I've experienced my fair share of horses rearing up, and I can tell you it's no fun. It's scary. They get pretty big, and if they were so inclined to, they could come and land on you or strike. And, you know, that, let's see, I'll put that down. I'm going to be a little further away. And that, in and of itself, is super scary. You know, nobody wants any part of that. So, when you get to that point, you have to really step back and reevaluate what went wrong along the ways. But the main reason, the biggest reason that horses rear up, whether you're riding or you're doing groundwork, is that you've put on, or there is enough pressure. They're worried or fearful enough that they essentially end up freezing in place. You may notice that a horse that reared, before that, it was stuck. It didn't know what to do. It was not really moving its feet. And you're coming along and you're trying to get them to do something. And instead of being able to get something done, they end up not being able to move out of pure fear, and then up they go, right in front of you. And it can be a pretty serious situation. I mean, I've seen some wrecks happen. Some horses flip right over. They're so jacked up, they just put themselves right up. And some people say they do it on purpose. And I don't believe that at all. I don't believe horses rear up and flip over on purpose, because it can actually kill them. And you see it. But the deal is that when a horse is rearing, when they're going up and they're not moving, it's because their feet won't move. They're too afraid. They don't know what to do. They're too confused, and there's too much pressure, and all they know how to do is just get up and out. So that's the next clue of what of the story that can tell us where the horse is at, where its mind and its emotions have reached to have it physically, and something that you can observe with your eyes, and determine there's a problem. There's a very serious problem that is brewing for that horse, and is now showing itself through some dangerous and scary behaviors, rearing up. Nobody wants any of that. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, and this has turned into a very long explanation, but if you find yourself in a situation where a horse is giving you enough trouble that it's rearing up, then you have a horse that is so worried that you're not going to really be able to get through to it. You're not going to be able to get through to teach it anything at that point, and you're not going to be able to get something good to happen until the time comes that you can come and bring them back down to some normal, calm level that you can then teach it about its environment. And just a second here, I've got I don't know how to do this. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so sorry, there was a user that had come in and decided he wanted to put in a bunch of inappropriate messages. I guess that happens. Some people are bored. But when you've got them so jacked up that they're rearing up, you have to find a way to get them to come back down. And usually it involves taking the pressure off and providing encouragement. And if they have a place they want to go, if they have a place of draw, then you can give that to them. But hopefully you're the draw. Hopefully, you know, you've done a little bit of work and you've spent a little bit of time with this horse where you become the draw for this horse, and it says, can I be a little bit closer? Now, that doesn't mean that you let them closer, but you can go to them instead of them going to you. You can go to them and just say, "It's okay, I'm here." And we've talked before. I know I talked about it in a previous book review with Tom Dorrance, or was it Bill? I think it was Bill. Yeah. And we talk about working with a horse on a feel, and it's these times where you're going to really have to extend yourself out to that horse and try to give that reassurance, but at the same time being firm enough to say, calm down, but stay away. You know, don't get too close to me. So there's a lot to talk about with it. There's probably way too much to even cover here. But the moral of the story, the moral of this whole thing is that you're going to have situations like this person did where the horse hasn't probably been leading well. It has built up enough worry, concern, fear, anxiety, energy to where when you get to a point that it's really uncomfortable, a very uncomfortable spot, and for some horses it's a corner of an arena. For some horses it's passing by another horse, passing by a vehicle, going in between something very narrow like a gate, and you get to these scared spots, these fearful spots, and suddenly you've got a horse you can't control, and it's ready to kick, and it's ready to rear up, and it's ready to do some damage to you. You know, you don't want that. So my encouragement, my advice was that I gave for the situation was to practice, prepare, anticipate, and sort of condition or train the horse to respond to the groundwork that you work with them on, so that it can understand your communication. And that consistency and those sets of patterns will actually calm the horse down. The horse will actually find a place where it will be, oh, I understand. I think I understand. Yeah, I think I understand. Because your pressure and release, or even, you know, if you want to do a few treats or something like that, something that it can associate reassurance with, then that would work as well. So, anyways, long explanation for a very difficult situation and very scary. You know, I don't know anybody who isn't scared of horses that are out of control. I get scared. You know, it's normal getting scared of when they freak out, but you can't really let that overpower you. And that takes practice. That takes a lot of time and a lot of practice of dealing with horses that can't control themselves, and you have to be the rock for them in a way. But I would be sort of putting it too much in a nutshell if I were to say you have to be the leader. It doesn't accurately describe what I think really needs to be done in the situation, which is not only to be a leader, but to be reassurance, to be firm, to be the one that stays calm, to be there's just piles of things that you need to think about. So anyways, I don't think anybody has any questions. Crazy Shark, hello. I deleted all the message from the spamming person. Lily says hello. Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, anyway, so I thought I would cover that while I was cleaning up, although I don't think I've been doing enough cleaning up while talking. If you guys have any questions, great. Happy to answer them. If not, it's been half an hour, so I'll probably sign out. Of the live event. Teresa, hello Teresa. But it was a big one. It was a really big. Question, and it's got a big explanation to it, and to demonstrate it would take even longer, obviously, because first I'd have to have a bit of a crazy horse. But you know, horses, you could have a really great horse that handles so many things in very consistent environments, but you take them out of that environment, which is essentially what has happened to this horse. It's out of whatever environment it feels comfortable in and taken to an environment it doesn't feel comfortable in. And in turn, its brain just goes and starts to lose it and likely wants to get back to the place that it feels safe. Might be its stall. Some horses are very stall bound. They just want to be back in their four walls and hay and water and not have to manage the world that's around them. Like a prisoner that's been in prison too long, can't handle being out. It happens, and so sometimes it can take a little bit of time to get that acclimation to where they're normal, to where they can handle their life again, a normal life with everybody else. That all the other horses are looking at them going, "What's your problem, man? This is just life." So. Tools and garbage. I swear that's all I'm cleaning up here. Soaker boots. I definitely recommend having sets of soaker boots. We've got a few here of different sizes. You see here, because horses' hooves come in different sizes, different size horses. But you can see the difference between these two. Maybe, I don't know. Very different size. Something like this. So I close my hand. You can see that one is quite a bit bigger. So different sizes of soaker boots, because you never know when you might have to soak a foot. Very seldom used. Definitely don't use these very often. Which is why I don't know why this one's on the counter. Brushes, tools, chainsaw. I've left it out because it needs a good sharpening. Fill it up with oil and gas. Yeah. I'm going to end that there, I think, unless somebody has said something interesting, which you haven't, which is fine. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully, for everybody out there that it's a very common problem, and that's okay. Just deal with it as it goes. Take your time, do your work, do your groundwork, provide reassurance, find your baseline, all that stuff. So. Anyways, I'm going to leave that there for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for showing up. I know it's just easy to do live streams sometimes and just put the phone up and connect up. So I will try to schedule these things. I know if I don't schedule them, barely anybody shows up. You have to come across accident almost. But I'll do better one day. And clean up this shop. Because it's a mess, and disorganization can lead to delays in being able to. That said, though, these are just tools. All of our we've got a bunch of medical supplies in here that are all organized out nicely. But yeah, hammers and pliers and all that stuff. Okay, all right, everybody. Well, thank you again for watching. We'll see you guys again probably tomorrow. All right. Right out there.